Greetings to my Sonic the 3D little series here. This is essentially a series about what would make the best Sonic game for a 3D console. And because mostly Sega, ever since basically Sonic Adventure 2, Sega's usually found some way to really screw up what's going on for a Sonic game. Mind you, there are good points in 3D Sonic games after Adventure 2. For example, the Speed Day sections in Unleashed are absolutely fantastic, and there are good parts of Heroes and so on and so forth. But I'm talking about what would really make, Mario 64 quality, oh my god, best, Sonic 3D game ever sort of attempt on Sega's part. This first video will be about the story aspect of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Mind you, platformers don't exactly have the best storyline basically at all. It basically ranges from Rescue Princess to Rescue Princess to Stop Evil Genius, and Stop More Evil Genius. So, unlike some other series such as Mario where they keep everything constant, Sonic at least has tried to do different things. But my biggest complaint has to be that Sega has been very schizophrenic about what story they're trying to do. Sometimes they're trying to be very serious and make a complex story. Sometimes they're trying to keep everything incredibly simple. In my opinion, the best Sonic game would have a very simple storyline because overall, it's a platformer. We don't need much motivation to go and do things. The best storyline I think would be a sort of return to form, Eggman or Robotnik's trying to take over the world by cramming animals into robots. Although Sega hasn't exactly been doing that storyline a whole lot, but the base of Robotnik take over the world with all his gadgets and stuff, I think, would keep everything simple and just basically please everyone because no one's playing it for the story because it's a Sonic game. No one's expecting a Pulitzer Prize winning story, even though Adventure 2 actually pulled off a very good and complex storyline. The funny thing is that as more time goes on, we realize how good the story in Adventure 2 really was, because I don't think Sega, or even Nintendo for that matter, has ever been able to kind of match that quality of storytelling. Yeah, there were some problems with it, but for the most part, it tied everything together, so since Sega has been trying that, especially with Sonic 06, and when it failed miserably, I think they themselves realized, okay, we need to stop trying this and keep things simple. Not to say Sega could not try a more complicated storyline, but as I think I said, with the exception of Adventure 2, they kind of haven't been able to pull it off. Now, mind you, if they do try another RPG, it has to have a good more complex story. So, again, I would experiment with spin-offs, but not really try and push it in terms of the main game's story. And the only thing I have to say they need to try and refrain from is the whole giant monster that's trying to destroy the world thing, because if you include Unleashed, that's essentially the third time they've done this with Chaos Zero, with the Iblis, and now Dark Gaia. So I would try and stay away from that, merely because they've used it 3 times since basically 1999. But on the whole, try and keep things simple for the story. Now, the only other thing I'm going to massively note about the story is to not put in too many characters if it can be helped. Because as we've seen, that the more characters there are in the game, the harder it is to save face in the story. I mean, look at Sonic 06. It had 12 plus characters essentially in the game running around at some kind of point. And it just got to the point where it was very convoluted and you just couldn't keep up with what was going on because too many people were doing too many things. The only way you could do that is if it were like Heroes where everyone's essentially going to the same place at the same time and then you can sort of do it and keep it simple. But even then, it gets a little confusing as to what's going on from a character perspective. And now, on the whole, I don't have much else to say on the story. I wanted to do this one first because this is going to be probably the shortest of the Sonic the 3D episodes, mostly because there isn't a whole lot to really say on what would make it good. Just basically keep things simple, and I think everyone will come to accept it. Because every time they've tried a complex storyline after Adventure 2, it hasn't done well. So basically, keep things simple, make it so Robotnik's trying to take over the world. We don't need much more than that since this is still a platformer at heart, with more speeds than most platformers, but essentially still a platformer. So look forward to some more upcoming episodes of Sonic the 3D.